It was a quiet evening when Jesus and his disciples gathered. Jesus looked at them with sadness and said, "Tonight, all of you will leave me, because of what will happen. The scriptures say, 'I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will scatter.' But after I rise again, I will meet you in Galilee." Peter, always quick to speak, stood up and said, "Even if everyone else leaves you, I will never leave you." Jesus looked at Peter with love and said, "Peter, before the rooster crows tonight, you will say 3 times that you don't know me." Peter shook his head and said, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." All the other disciples agreed, but Jesus knew what was coming. Later that night, soldiers came to arrest Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Peter, trying to protect him, pulled out a sword and cut off the ear of one of the high priest's servants. But Jesus stopped him and said, "Put your sword away. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword." Then Jesus healed the servant's ear and let the soldiers take him. As the soldiers led Jesus away, Peter followed from a distance. He didn't want to be seen, but he couldn't leave Jesus completely. He ended up in the courtyard of the high priest's house, sitting by the fire with some servants and guards. His heart was heavy, and he didn't know what to do. As Peter sat there, a servant girl noticed him. She walked up and said, "You were with Jesus of Galilee, weren't you?" Peter panicked. He didn't want to get in trouble, so he quickly said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Then he moved to another spot, hoping she wouldn't bother him again. But another girl saw him and said loudly, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth." Peter got even more nervous. He shook his head and said with an oath, "I don't know the man." A little while later, some other people came up to Peter. They said, "You must be one of them. Your accent gives you away, you're a Galilean." This time, Peter was really scared. He began to swear and said, "I don't know the man." At that exact moment, a rooster crowed. Peter froze. He remembered what Jesus had said earlier, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." His heart sank. He had promised to stay with Jesus no matter what, but he had failed. Peter got up and ran out of the courtyard. Tears streamed down his face as he thought about what he had done. He felt so ashamed and so sorry. He cried and cried, feeling like he had let down the man he loved most. But Peter's story didn't end there. Though he had failed, Jesus later forgave him and gave him a second chance. Peter would go on to be one of the bravest followers of Jesus, spreading his message to the world. But that night, Peter's tears reminded him, and remind us all, that even when we fail, there is always hope for forgiveness and a fresh start.